And I normally take note of any elected officials in the room, but I did not notice any electeds, mayors or otherwise in the room, but if someone sees someone, let me know. We also like to recognize some of our more impactful agency heads and others that may be in the room. And I noticed, John Nass, who's support director at Gulfport, we generally have a conflict because our meetings are same day as John's board meeting. So this is a great opportunity to meet on a Friday. And I'd like to call on John Nass just briefly. John, you give us any update or anything you'd like everybody to know about the port.
Great, thanks, Jamie. We've been working hard at the Port Authority. A couple of highlights. Recently we signed a deal with a company called Ports America. They're the largest stevedore company in the country. If you're familiar with our terminal, Terminal 4 is a vacant one near the silos, 38 acres, and it hasn't been used in a number of years. So the deal contemplates $43 million investment by Ports America. Includes a new crane, so that's what you'll be seeing, an additional large movable object out there in the terminal. But it also contemplates them bringing in a lot of business, and they have the connections globally to work with the shipping companies, and we're super excited about it. So if you have any questions about it, or if you want to come down and talk about the port, please give me a call. Thank you.
Thanks, John. I noticed Dr. Graham's here. Dr. Graham, if you want to give an update or anything highlighting at the college, please let us know.
Sure. Good morning, everyone. You may have heard it this morning on the news, on LOX. We are the recipient, Gulf Coast Community College is the recipient of $1 million Lowe's grant. Nationwide, they're giving out $8 million. We're receiving $1 million of it. And we'll be using that to do programs in the prison system. Job training programs, craft programs. We'll be doing a couple of things in conjunction with the prison program. We hope that this can be spread throughout the state of Mississippi, but we're a pilot for Lowe's, so we were really excited to be selected. So everything else at the college is going well, enrollment's good, lots of new programs. We're registering as we speak, so if any of you know anyone that's interested, adults, high school graduates, let us know. We can get them in school and get them registered.
Thank you for that, Dr. Graham. Anyone from our military installations that I may have missed? Okay. I also want to recognize our executive committee members that are here. Ron Barnes, thank you. Roy Anderson, Anthony Wilson, and Shevis. Shevis, where'd you end up? Okay, I see you behind there. Any other executive committee members I may have missed? I know we've got several board members as well. I'd also like to take a special privilege. I told Dr. Burnett when he got here that there was somebody that was so excited about his presentation this morning that he actually joined the business council, and I told him that I thought he'd be sitting right on the front row, and as predicted it was. My pastor, Dr. Jimmy Stewart's here to make sure that Dr. Burnett stays on his P's and Q's. Another topic that I don't want to let sit idle is several weeks ago, as we know, the coast was hit, Moss Point specifically was hit with some tornadoes, and they have been going through the recovery process, and someone from that community that's been very active in helping lead and also organize them around their long-term recovery is here. And I'd ask Paige Roberts if you want to come to the podium instead of speaking from your seat there, if you want to come up.
Thank you, Jamie, and thank you to all of you. Jamie and I have been on the phone a lot of the 5 weeks since the 5.5 weeks since the storm hit Moss Point. It did run a path of 6 square miles, and there are 89 homes that are destroyed or major damage. 89. And only 15 have insurance. So that is why we are quite challenged right now. We, however, continue to move forward. The mayor, Mayor Knight, I know he spoke last month to you all via Zoom. He could not be here this morning. But this is where we are. We have set up a long-term recovery committee, and Roger Wilder, who is one of us here at the council, serves as the chair of the Harrison County Long-Term Recovery Committee, and I am serving as the chair over in Jackson County. And so Roger and Jerry Schmuck and Kathy Springer have all been very helpful to us in Jackson County. So this is what I wanted to share with you, mostly so that you could be better equipped with the knowledge and information to share within your spheres of influence. Number one is that we do have a request for the federal declaration that has made its way to the president's desk. So we will see what he and FEMA think. We just don't have a timeline. So in the meantime, we move forward. This is what our needs are right now, and sort of only this, and I'll explain that. If you can put a tarp on, then we need a few tarpers. Not a lot left, but there's still a few. If you can knock a house down, that's also very helpful. Otherwise, we really need you to give to the Rebuild Moss Point Fund. You can do it through the Rebuild Moss Point Fund on the United Way for Jackson and George County's website, or you can do it through any Merchants and Marine Bank. And so that you know, and you can help people know better the fiduciary responsibility wrapped around that fund, it goes through the Long-Term Recovery Committee, so that when the needs are presented by the Catholic Charities case managers, after all of the other resources at the table are exhausted, that is the fund of last resort to help where there is still need. Many of you in the room have already contributed at our initial unveiling of that fund, but that is really the best way to help at this point. People are calling with clothes, they're leftover or used rather clothes and refrigerators and washers and dryers and all of that. But we really recommend, quite frankly, that they sell it and give the money to the fund, because that is the best way to help in a disaster. So again, thank you, because it truly is one coast, and we know it better than ever when one of us is down and the rest of us help them up. So thank you again, and thank you, Jamie.
Thank you. Thanks, Paige. Okay, I think that gets through most of our announcements here, but I've got a short presentation of just update of some things going on at the Business Council that I wanted to make everybody aware of just in the month of July. We'll start with the Neshoba County Fair. So this year, and the Neshoba County Fair happens every year, but in every 4 years, in the election year, it kind of takes on a special meaning and purpose with political speeches and just politics around a lot of the statewide races and other races. So the coast is probably many of you have, if you've attended the fair at some point in your life, in the last probably 6 to 8 years, the coast has taken over the fair on Thursday. And Wednesday night, there's a red clay and sand mixer where a lot of coast sponsors, businesses come and get to mingle and have a good time before Thursday speeches. We wanted to build on that a bit. The Business Council this year hosted what we refer to as a VIP reception. VIP, that term very loosely. But we wanted something a little more intimate, a little smaller. We wanted our members and the sponsors of the bigger event to be able to interact with some statewide elected officials, some other key chairmen of House and Senate committees, with the opportunity to get with them and kind of share build relationships, but also share the message of what's going on the coast. And so we had a very successful first event at the Big Orange Cabin, right on the raceway at Neshoba County Fair, and we just took a few snapshots here. You'll recognize at least one of the people in these slides. Our mayor, you came in. Thank you for being here. I know you've been on the road. Thanks for being here early this morning. And then I put this picture of this fan. If most people relate the fair to heat and hot, and that's the way to think of it. But Ingalls was set up that day, and they had one of the best handouts. It was a little electronic fan that read Ingalls when you turned it on. So props to Ingalls. I don't know if you can pick it up in that photo, but it was a great event. I think it was something that we'll want to consider doing in the future to kind of get our exposure and to key folks throughout the state with our members. The next is, we've been talking about this for some time, and the Business Council for long, for a decade or longer, used to provide or send out a CEO confidence survey. We stopped doing this right around the pandemic. This is something we've talked about that we want to restart, and so through more conversation with our board of directors and some other folks that have helped us prepare this, we have waited until now. We wanted to make sure our members were aware of it before it got sent out. So this is something we plan to do twice a year. It will be sent to all our member CEOs, and it's less than 20 questions. It's 3 parts. And it gives insight, or we want to collect that insight from our members about workforce constraints, their confidence about the coast economy, how it's growing or how it will grow. Just as an example, just to get to the first part of the survey, it starts off by prioritizing what's important to our business council and our members. So there's a few things there you'll be able to go through and prioritize, and then it moves on to more specific questions about the confidence within our membership. So we'll be able to turn those results around and share that back to our members, and then every 6 months we'll kind of catalog that to see how we're progressing. So that's another what we think is valuable data that we want to be able to collect from our members, then also share it out. It's completely anonymous. It'll be done through a anonymous survey, through SurveyMonkey, I think again is how we do it. So be able to look out here in the next probably week or so for that survey to show up, and we'll send some reminders out as well. Also wanted to give an update on our Political Action Committee. You've heard me, if you've been to the meetings or around me, you've heard me talk about our PAC that was started this year. It was formed in December. We've kind of gotten organized around bylaws and a board, started some discussions about potential eventual contributions or endorsements. Of course, you have to have money to make contributions. So some of you, many of you have generously given to the PAC, and we thank you for that. And just as another note, if you've received your dues for the 23-24 year, you'll notice that there is a voluntary contribution of $100 to the PAC on your invoice. So it is voluntary, but I do encourage you, if you can, to give that $100 to the PAC. So I wanted just to go a little deeper into the purpose of the PAC and kind of how it's organized and the way it's starting out, kind of its philosophy. So as it reads in our bylaws, it says the purpose of the GCBC PAC is to make contributions to candidates for public offices, regardless of political affiliation, who demonstrate support for pro-business and pro-tourism issues, initiatives, policies, and laws. So that's kind of the basis and purpose of the PAC. And then just to talk a little bit about what I would call a philosophy, it refers to endorsements and contributions will be biased toward incumbents. And so incumbents will always, the PAC will always lean toward endorsing the incumbent. We'll generally not endorse candidates in an open primary where there's no incumbent. So we've got a lot of open races. The PAC has decided that they would not get involved in open races or open seats in the primary. Timing will be considered when endorsing a candidate. So when the PAC votes to endorse a candidate, not all races are as competitive in the primary as they may be in the general election. So the staff will consider when endorsements will occur. And then we also will endorse candidates, but not necessarily contribute to the campaigns. And so it's, we have some budget constraints. And so there may be, for example, statewide races. There'll be endorsements of candidates in statewide races, but we don't plan to contribute to those races financially. Contributions will only be made during election years. Campaign contributions will be prioritized to candidates with opponents not running unopposed. So we have candidates on the ballot, incumbents that may be running unopposed. That would not normally be a priority for us to contribute to the campaign. We may endorse that candidate. But that's another consideration. And then also a second consideration would be the competitiveness of the race. And so, financially speaking, we have a limited budget here, so we have to think through about where we want to make our money go the furthest and have the greatest impact. Another consideration would be the amount of cash on hand that a candidate may have. So some candidates may have raised a lot of money already. It may not be necessary for us to contribute there, where someone else may need a little more help. And then the PAC is focused on elected positions in coastal Mississippi in key statewide offices and legislative candidates that hold key chairmanships. So it's possible that there would even be candidates running for office that aren't on the coast but may hold a specific chairmanship within the House or Senate that we may, like tourism, for example, may be a key committee for us to participate in that race. So that is kind of the backdrop and the purpose and kind of the thinking of the PAC board at the current time. The PAC board has made endorsements, and so the primary is August the 8th. You will very soon, as soon as next week, begin to see the PAC come out with some public announcements of the endorsements for statewide candidates in some of our legislative races. So be on the lookout for that. We're gonna send that information to all our members. But I wanted to give you just kind of a quick snapshot of the thinking that went into the PAC. It's new for us. Not every person that gets endorsed is going to have the full support of every individual member of our business council. We know that. But this PAC board that's been put together is very seasoned, very thoughtful, with the idea of a long-term view of the organization's best interest in mind. So I've got a lot of confidence in the board, and I think y'all should too. So be on the lookout for that. That's a new initiative that got kicked off. That's going to be a big part of our future, I think. So let me get to our speaker. We've had a lot of announcements here, and we got to get to the main event. Dr. Ben Burnett began his tenure as the 10th president of William Carey University on August the 16th, 2022. Prior to his appointment, Dr. Burnett served William Carey as Executive Vice President and Dean of Education. Dr. Burnett holds the rank of Professor of Education and actively teaches in the Educational Leadership Department. Under his leadership as Dean of Education, the William Carey School of Education grew to an enrollment of 1,800 undergraduate and graduate majors. Before accepting the full-time position with William Carey in 2014, Dr. Burnett spent 28 years in the K-12 public school system in Mississippi. In 1997, Dr. Burnett became principal of Oak Grove Middle School. During his 10-year tenure as principal, he served as president of the Mississippi Association of Middle Level Education and was Mississippi's Middle School Principal of the Year. In 2007, he was elected superintendent of Lamar County School District and was re-elected in 2011. During his tenure as superintendent, Lamar County schools were rated an A school district under the Mississippi Department of Education's accountability system, and also received many state and federal grants in the areas of early childhood, school safety, dyslexia training, and after-school tutoring. He was named the Lamar Times Person of the Year in 2012. Dr. Burnett holds bachelor and master's degree in music education from USM and a PhD in educational administration from USM. He has been married to Denise Burnett, a retired special education director for 32 years, and they have one son, David Lane Burnett, who is a graduate of William Carey University. I have greatly pared this down at Dr. Burnett's request. He has so many more accolades, and I know that y'all are familiar with Dr. Burnett. But Dr. Burnett, come up to the stage now. Thank you for being here.
Well, he didn't pare it down enough. That took about 2 minutes that I could have been talking about William Carey, which is my favorite subject. And I'll be very mindful of the time. I've got my cell phone right here, and Dr. Connor in the back who will give me the high sign, or Jimmy Stewart, because I don't want to take up too much of your time this morning. I do want to also end at the end of this presentation for any questions. So at least about a quarter till or 10 till. If you have any questions about William Carey University and specifically what we're doing on the Gulf Coast, I want to answer those questions. Appreciate Jamie and also Ben's support for getting here today. I've been excited about this for several months when we were able to get this on the calendar, because my mission as president, as the 10th president, is to expand what we're doing on the Gulf Coast. We have a great campus in Hattiesburg. That's our home campus, our original campus. but our future, I feel like, is down here. And so our connection with you is extremely important. My cell phone number's on there. If you don't have it, you're the only people in Mississippi that don't have it, so you need to write it down. I'd be honored for you to take that, and I've got a QR code at the very end that you can scan all of my information, so you can track me down at any time, and I'll be glad to do that. Jamie briefly mentioned my family, but our leadership at William Carey is truly a family affair. My wife is a Carey graduate. She started her career there in the late 80s, got her master's from there, but then she served the public schools as I did for 27 years as a special education director. And our one and only son, we're a small family, but we're mighty. Our only son is 25, and he graduated from Carey and from Pearl River the same week. Did things kind of a little bit backwards and got a degree in unmanned aircraft from Pearl River, but works for us at William Carey. And as a matter of fact, he is now a Coast resident officially. And I partly own an apartment lease in the Coast. And Lord have mercy. Those are not cheap. He will start Monday working for Dr. Connor at the Tradition campus, and has a great apartment in D'Iberville. So we're happy to be part-time Coast residents. I also have a sister who's lived in Ocean Springs for over 30 years, works in the area of early childhood along the Mississippi Gulf Coast in the state of Mississippi. So we're glad to have our connection with the Gulf Coast. So the main thing we do at William Carey University, and especially under my leadership, will be to partner with everybody that we can. And because I just feel like that we're better together. We can't do things by ourselves. Anything that we can do to partner with anybody out in this audience and above that is what we want to do to get our message out. We've got a great partnership with WLOX. Rick is here. I told him he was in my presentation. He was afraid that I was going to make him speak and talk this morning, but you can't have any of my time this morning, Rick. But we have a great partnership with WLOX. If you're not watching us on Tuesday mornings at 11:30, for 30 minutes, you can get an update, and it's specific to the Gulf Coast campus. We don't really do anything about what's going on the Hattiesburg campus, and we appreciate that partnership very, very much. If you do get WDAM and watch that on Wednesday morning at 7:15, we have William Carey Wednesdays for about a 2 or 3 minute quick update on the university as a whole. We're also on Super Talk on Monday evening for our Crusader Talk for our athletic program, which I'll go over in just a minute. And we're also very glad to partner with the Baco McCarty Foundation and Spotlight Gulf Coast. I've been a frequent guest there, but now we are one of the sponsors of that program. In addition to those partnerships, we partner with the coastal school districts. We have graduate cohorts in Biloxi, Jackson County, Ocean Springs, Pascagoula, Pass Christian, Pearl River County, Picayune, and Stone County. So we're in all those school districts partnering for graduate cohorts because the Tradition campus is mostly School of Education. That is the largest part of the Coast campus and serving a very large population of K-12. And as a retired K-12 superintendent, that's really one of my missions. Our medical partnerships are too many to list, and I would probably leave somebody out if I started, but we have like 23 medical partnerships with our nursing program and our School of Education. And we have a great partnership with Ingalls where we provide reduced tuition for Ingalls employees to pursue their education. And now, Dr. Graydon, don't get mad at me because I'm showing Adam Breerwood on the, and he's not even here this morning. We just signed a, ma'am? I'm gonna pay for that one, aren't I? Yeah, but you're later in the presentation, so just hang on. We just signed a partnership with Pearl River and the Hattiesburg campus because in their Forest County campus, they don't have any dorm facilities. And so we are now housing Pearl River students in Hattiesburg on our campus because our Hattiesburg campus is a mile from the Forest County campus. And so anything that we can do for our community colleges and to partner, and again, I'll get to some more in just a minute, but we have medical MOUs with all community colleges, Jackson South, and then some further north East Mississippi, Meridian, where we're partnering with their allied health programs and other programs to come straight into our medical programs. And that includes Mississippi Gulf Coast and Pearl River and those MOUs. But at William Carey, we are 51% transfer students. So without our community college students, we all would have to close our doors. So we don't try to steal those freshmen and sophomores. Some do come to us, especially those who are playing athletics. But we want to create a pipeline from the community colleges. And I want to tell you in just a minute what we're doing financially. Now, if you have not seen our commercial about our
At William
college-
Carey University, we're proud to have a long-standing relationship with community colleges. And we're one of the few colleges that accept career technical hours for degree completion. Continue your journey from community college and let us help you take the next step towards your future.
I transferred
from Pearl River Community College.
I transferred from Mississippi Delta Community College.
I transferred from Tyler Junior College, and I play soccer here at Carey.
The moment I realized it was more than just baseball was during the transfer process. The people I had to come in contact with to get my transcripts in and get all the forms I needed, and they helped me in every aspect. They got me exactly what I needed.
I played drums all my life. What really caught my attention was when they said they would build a studio. So right then and there, I made a phone call.
So I've been able to learn a ton of new things, though I might not exactly know what I want to do when I leave Carey. It's preparing me for like several different options. I realized that this place is where I wanted to be. I transferred for volleyball, but the business degree program here at Carey played a huge impact on my decision. I definitely believe that the School of Business and Carey are preparing me for whatever is to come in the future. As a math major, I got to meet some of those faculty, and now being here, having taken those classes, I realized that the classes are really intimate and they really care for their student.
I got a Bachelor's of General Studies with Math and Business as my two concentrations. Then from the community college, I got the drone certification, unmanned aircraft. What I went to college for allows me to use my skills to make things easier for other people.
Everyone feels welcomed. It's just a really big group of people that you don't feel like an outsider. I'm Emily.
My name is Brady.
I'm Avery.
My name is Kenny.
My name is David.
My name is Megan, and I'm glad I transferred to Carey.
Contact us today and learn how we're making college affordable.
So one thing you may not have noticed in that, or caught on in that video, hello Alan, just get here when you can. That's bad to do with one of your board members, but you have to know Alan and I go all the way back to high school band at Oak Grove High School. So I've got plenty of pictures, and so does he. So does he. You may not have noticed about, I'm getting heckled pretty good already. What you may not have noticed about that video, one important phrase about that we have degree programs where you can use your career technical degree. In most places, or most students think that with a career technical degree that they're done. And in most colleges and universities they are. But we have multiple pathways, not only in the College of Health Sciences, but any degree program that we offer. You can get a Bachelor of General Studies degree and use your career technical hours. So somebody who has a certification, associate's degree, career technical degree can then pair that with a 4-year degree and give them multiple opportunities. So we think that is just huge. Just some quick facts about William Carey that you may or may not know, and I'll move very quickly. Founded in 1892. Important on this timeline is when Dr. Nooncastre had the vision to come to the Gulf Coast, and that's 1976. So we've had a presence on the Gulf Coast since 1976. As you know, in 2005, we were no longer on the beach. Our buildings were in the water after that point, so we have now moved north to Highway 67. I mentioned that we were founded in 1892. It was actually in the city of Poplarville, oldest higher ed institution in South Mississippi. It was the Pearl River boarding school, and that burned a couple of times and finally was moved to Hattiesburg in 1906 by our founding president, Dr. W.I. Timms, and he was president until 1910. Then we remained the women's college until 1954. Now, the beautiful woman on the right actually is my grandmother. She graduated in 1929 from the Mississippi Women's College, and she was a teacher I went on to be an educator, the first in the family to be a teacher. Then we went to coeducational in 1954 through 2006, and bearing the name of William Carey College. Interesting story of that, we've played football 2 years, and I hope this is okay with my board since I've got 2 members here, but we're in the process of getting shirts made that says William Carey University football undefeated since 1955. Because we played for 2 years. Now we had 2 winning seasons, which is pretty good, but we only played for 2 years. And the first year we played, we were still the women's college. So all the headlines for the state schools, because we were pretty good. I don't know why we stopped playing, but we beat other state schools as the women's college, which is a little embarrassment to them. You know our story and our storied president before me, Dr. Tommy King, who many of you have asked about. And if I don't see him each week, I get a text message either saying, hey, don't forget to do this, or mostly just encouragement. Because he's a Carey graduate, his wife is a Carey graduate, he is ultimately concerned with the health and the longevity of William Carey University. And one other quick fact before I get into our athletics, we were the first college university in the state of Mississippi to voluntarily integrate in 1965, and this is our first minority graduate, Ms. Vermester Jackson Bester, and she went on to teach high school math at Hattiesburg High School for about 42 years, and she still lives in the shadow of William Carey, actually half of a block from my campus home at William Carey. So she's easily our most coveted graduate of William Carey, then William Carey College. So you may not know a lot about our athletic program. We play in the NAIA. Some people may think, well, that's just a small group of little private schools. Well, it's 250 schools in the NAIA across the nation, and been around since 1937. And it's not all private schools. Matter of fact, there are many public schools in the NAIA, and we're larger than many Division I schools at almost 6,000 students. But we have been in the NAIA since our inception. Whether or not we'll stay there forever is something to be seen, but just some things about our athletic program. We just recently honored Mississippi's winningest baseball coach in the history of college baseball in the state of Mississippi, Bobby Halford, last week, commemorating his 1,300th win, if you can wrap your mind around that. He's been our head coach for 38 years and has 1,300 victories at William Carey University. And that's just as head coach. He was a player, graduate assistant, and assistant for about 20 years prior to that. So we think that he accounts for about 80 or 90% of the wins at William Carey. A lot has been made recently about the success of baseball in Mississippi. Ole Miss, Mississippi State with their national championships. We've had 2 community colleges who won national championships. Delta State won one, I believe, in 2007 at the Division II level. Well, we were the first to win one in 1969. That gets lost on many people. We recently broke ground on a new field house honoring Coach Halford and our baseball program, who went to the World Series this year for the first time, or for the 4th time rather, and they were the semifinalists in the World Series. And they've been to the World Series 4 times total and had the most wins of any college baseball team in the state at 49 this past year. Our softball program is equally successful with 7 World Series appearances, 9 conference titles, and with a runner-up in 2013. So, all of our college athletics right now are in Hattiesburg, but that's about to change. So, starting in 2 weeks, I believe, we have hired a swim coach who will now be forming the first college swim team at the Tradition campus. So college athletics will return to the Tradition campus. We used to play soccer there many years ago, which most of you will remember at our old location, but we're going to bring college athletics back. I thought it was the first ever swim team until I started digging in the annuals, and we actually had one in the 1930s. But this will be a little bit different, I think, than the all-women swim team of the 1930s. The uniforms will look different, I assure you. We're also starting competitive cheerleading this coming year. Our athletic department won the Commissioner's Cup for the 7th year in a row as the best overall athletic program in our conference, 7 years in a row. And this year we had the honor of placing 8th in the entire country out of all NAIA schools when you combine all of our athletic programs together. So we're a top 10 athletic program in the country. For this past year, as you see, more importantly, we had 116 all-academic players, and that's out of 300 athletes. And this is staggering to me, 169 all-conference, which means 1 out of every 2 athletes at William Carey is an all-conference competitor. And then 44 All-Americans and 47 national scholar athletes. Coach Hoffer is not our only famous coach. Steve Knight is the winningest basketball coach at the college level. Had 750 wins before this season. He's in his 42nd year as the basketball coach at William Carey University. And that comes from good leadership with our athletic director, who is a native of Mississippi and a Pearl River and William Carey product. DJ Pulley was the National Athletic Director of the Year. And just closing with, not to highlight just one coach out of the 20, but our women's soccer are perennial national championship contenders. They've been in the top 5 for the last, since 2017, every year, been in the top 5. And Coach Owens is the 10-time Coach of the Year for women's soccer. He's won a national championship. And since 2018, his winning percentage is the same as Nick Saban. I hate to say that out loud or to him because we don't pay him like Nick Saban, nor will we ever pay him like Nick Saban. But the winning percentage and just the consistency of that program is just really unheard of. You know a lot about our story from devastating fires, Hurricane Katrina, and hearing the report about the Moss Point tornado brought back memories for us, for sure, of 2017, when we really didn't know if we were going to close our doors or not. 58 out of our 60 buildings were impacted. We totally lost 7 buildings, but all we did was build back stronger. If you haven't been to our Hattiesburg campus, it is absolutely beautiful. And one of the pictures here of Tatum Court, and of course our lovely Tradition campus. 2 great shots of our Tradition campus by my favorite drone pilot, my son, and yes, that was him in the video, by the way. We also received national attention by being named the best in the U.S. from the Hidden Gem Award by College Rapture. And this past fall, our enrollment soared to 5,600, just short of 5,700 students, which is a record enrollment for us. And I show this picture because you may not realize that we also have a campus in Baton Rouge. So we're not just in Mississippi. We've expanded about 5 or 6 years ago, and we're in Baton Rouge General Hospital, downtown Baton Rouge, and we have a nursing program there. So we're trying to change lives, doing a little mission work in Louisiana as well as in Mississippi. But also, present-day Carey stays with our roots of our Christian heritage and our Christian mission, and it's a pretty cool experience to be able to worship with our students on a weekly basis. And our worship choir, if you've never heard them, absolutely phenomenal. We still go to mission trips abroad and to live out the mission of our namesake, Dr. William Carey. So, in closing, what's the future of William Carey on the coast? Well, I would like to see a great expanded campus at William Carey University Tradition campus. And this is where you will be able to come in to support us in any way possible in clearing the path for us to do this. Now, this is just pictures of our vision. This is not a concrete plan yet. This is what we hope to be able to do down the road. And this is a rendering of what our campus looks like now, plus the expanded building on the left would be a student center and a cafeteria. And then the top floor of that building would be a state-of-the-art nursing program. There's just another view of it. And this will be what our nursing facility to expand. We'd love for the partnership between Gulf Coast to come straight into just literally crossing the street and finishing their nursing program if they choose to continue with us. Also, we would like to see student housing, because not only is there nowhere to live in Tradition, there's nowhere to eat in Tradition, even if you've been by there. And we're going to take care of that with our food service provider this year. Just a couple of more pictures of what that could look like. I mentioned earlier our partnership with Pearl River. Dr. Graham and I have already talked, and she has given her support to, if we're able to build this building, to have students from her campus, which is literally next door without a dorm, to also share that space. So it would be a win-win for both schools. Our mission has expanded certainly to the medical field. This is a picture of our 67,000 square foot College of Health Sciences building at the Hattiesburg campus, which houses nursing, physical therapy, a doctorate in physical therapy, health administration, education, and health information management. But certainly on the Gulf Coast, our prize for our tradition campus is our School of Pharmacy, which under the leadership of Dr. Weldon and Dr. Malloy just received their 6-year accreditation. Our College of Medicine in the Hattiesburg campus has doubled its size. We're now the largest in the state, one of the larger ones in the country. We will now be graduating 200 doctors a year. Starting next year, we've admitted 200 or over 200 for the last 2 years now. And those students come from all over the world, literally, but over half of them are staying in Mississippi. So we feel like they were directly impacting the state of Mississippi. And to that end, they're ranked #1 by U.S. News and World Report in the country for placing doctors in rural areas. We just had a press conference or news release a couple of days ago that we have a direct admit program now. So students who come to us as an undergraduate with a certain ACT score and maintain a certain GPA can gain direct admission in the College of Medicine in hopes of bringing more students to our undergraduate program as a direct pathway to the College of Medicine. I also think that's a way we can get more Mississippi students coming to our College of Medicine. So what is our economic impact of the Gulf Coast? Well, our capital expenditures were $14 million. Total economic impact since 2018, 53 million, 682 jobs created through all of that construction. We also feel like that we're impacting with our new supervisory management degree, which is one of those CTE pathways that I mentioned directly from the community college, and a forensic science degree, which is on our tradition campus specifically. So it's here, 380. Education, you get the staggering figure right there, 752, and that is just the tradition campus, have graduated in education going directly into your public and private K-12 schools. Since our inception to 1976, we've graduated 9,000. We've also discovered over the last 4 to 5 years that we're graduating the largest number of School of Education students in the state of any public or private college or university in the state. This past year we graduated 632 in one summer just from the School of Education, and that's K-12 graduate and undergraduate students combined. So we're very, very proud of that. And there you see the graphic of the 632. And we also just received word yesterday that the School of Education received a $2.4 million grant from the U.S. Department of Education to expand our residency programs. So what are our challenges? The same that Dr. Graham has, same that Dr. Paul has. There are less young people in the country being born, which means there are less people that are college age going right now. Mississippi loses about 6,000 residents a year population, so we have a double challenge. So this is what we're doing, and I'll close with this. This is what we're doing to combat that. We want to make going to college as affordable as possible. So we have launched a Making College Affordable campaign. You have a card on your table I hope you'll take with you and share with some people. So we launched a campaign that has about 3 or 4 things along with it. One of them is that we are increasing our academic scholarships by an average of 40% beginning this fall. Coupled with, we're not raising tuition, we're not raising fees, so we're not giving more scholarships and then charging them in another end. Another thing that we're doing is that we're offering free textbook rentals for all undergraduate students. So that's the hidden cost of college. When you pay your tuition, your dorm fee, your meal plan, then you've got to go to the bookstore and spend about another $1,000. We're not at William Carey, and we're not raising any fees to get them in another way. We're already affordable, as you can see from Christian education, our neighboring states in Mississippi, we're already affordable. And when you add in the dorm fee, residence fee, tuition, we're already as cheap as the public institutions, but once we take this step, we're gonna be more affordable. And that's the message that most people don't know about William Carey, because we're a private institution. They think it costs $30,000 or $40,000 in tuition. It's just not true. And this will show you the increase in our scholarships. I'm very proud that we're increasing our PTK scholarship from community college students to $9,000 a year if they're a PTK student. And our transfer scholarships, when they graduate from the community college, start at a 2.5 GPA. But we want them to graduate from the community college first before they come to us. So that is
Sounded like 1890.
Very quickly, if you're into technology and you want to know everything about me and get all of my contact information, you can scan that. And that way you can track me down at anywhere, day or night. So I almost made my time. I'm 1 minute over what I was going to do. So with that, I will take any questions that you have. Yes.
Any thoughts of moving the DO program to the coast?
Thoughts, but no plans. When we, just to be very honest with you, when we increased our class size to 200, then we had to increase the facilities greatly there. And right now, our investment there is probably too great. I would love to see, but again, no plans. I would love to see a small group of students on the Gulf Coast, but then we have to replicate everything that we're doing on the Hattiesburg campus. And one slide I skipped over, we also received a $20 million pass-through grant by the legislature from ARPA money, and we are building a $20 million Institute for Primary Care connected to our medical school in Hattiesburg. So that just furthers our tie and investment to that area. Other questions? Yes, sir.
Your teachers, do all of them get placed pretty easily when they graduate?
Before they graduate.
And then how do they typically stay with the program or stay in education after?
They do. That's a great question, and I could talk the next 3 hours about the teacher shortage and all the data, but I'll sum it up in 30 seconds. The national data shows that teachers leave the profession, not their local school, but they leave the profession in the first 5 years at a rate of 50%. So half of the people that go to college, and we've had a downturn in teacher education, and so we're graduating less. We're not, but the profession is, and most of them leave in the first 5 years. But we did a study about 4 or 5 years ago and surveyed a couple of thousand graduates, and we found that that was not the case with our William Carey graduates. And we feel like that's because of the strong partnership with the local schools, the help of the local schools between the Gulf Coast and the Pine Belt has great K-12 schools that they're going into, and they have good support. But most of it's very rare that our students would student teach and graduate and go, I've got to look for a job. And the way that we have increased our teacher education program is through our teacher assistant program. They can go to community college for 2 years, get a job as an assistant teacher, and we discount their tuition 66%. And they can finish their teaching license degree program in a virtual program while they're already in the state retirement system. And that's the way that we've been able to get people in and out of, so they're already working and they're more apt to stay that way. So we feel like they are staying, but as a profession as a whole, it's a real problem. It's a real issue. Any other questions? Y'all either must be ready to go or I must be really, really good. I'm not sure which it is, and I don't want to know which it is. Well, we hope that you'll pray for us, because now is the time that Christian education is needed in our country. And unashamedly, I bleed public school. My parents were public school people, and I will still fight to the end for public schools, because that educates 90% of our K-12 kids in Mississippi in the public schools. But now is the time for private, Christian-based higher education opportunity, and we hope that you'll support us in our mission to do that, and as my mission to expand on the Gulf Coast, because you've not seen anything yet. Thank you.
Thanks again, Dr. Burnett. I want to thank everybody for being here this morning. I know it was a slight curveball doing this on a Friday, but again, thank you for your attendance. As a note for August is going to be another busy month for us. We plan to host Michael Watson in our general membership meeting, and he can talk about all things Secretary of State, Thailand's elections, other topics of interest. We also plan, because Congress will be in recess, we have, if everybody's schedule cooperates, we plan to host Congressman Ezel for a reception in August, and also Senator Wicker for a reception in August. So please be on the lookout for emails and notifications about that. So, yes, sir, Mayor.
I just hope everybody will join us tomorrow in Jones Park for Gulfport's 125th anniversary celebration, starting at 5 and free to the public. Got a lot of things for kids, fireworks at the end, bands. It's a good celebration.
Fantastic. Thank you, Mayor, for being here and making that announcement. Any other final announcements for the good of us, the order here? All right, great. Thank you again. Have a great weekend.